Welcome to the Big Bets on Campus podcast presented by DraftKings. I am your host for this Monday morning episode, Jim Root, joined by the rest of the three-man weave crew, Ky Mckeon and Matty Cox. Every single Monday morning through the rest of the season, we'll be dropping a new BBOC episode, talking all things betting in the world of college hoops. On today's episode, you're going to get the classic segments we do here. We're going to talk some of the key games of the start of the week that are all on Tuesday. The Monday slate is hiding from the NFL, apparently. We've also got some mid-major games of the week to discuss, some favorite favorites, some live dogs, a couple of spots we really like, and just get you some early takes before most of the spreads come out. All right, fellas, let's get into it. Key games of the week, as I alluded to before, there's nothing on Monday. Absolutely nothing worth discussing at all. So we pivot to Tuesday, where I picked out four games, not necessarily the top four in KenPom fan match. I wanted to mix in an interesting fourth game I thought would be worth discussing. But we're going to start with the headliner. Iowa State headed to Kansas. Matthew, it is a 5-point spread on KenPom right now. I'm actually going to pull up the see if DraftKings has got these lines out yet already. But the thing here is that Kansas has been bad to start Big 12 play. They've got two road losses, and they needed a desperate panic, holy cow comeback to beat TCU in overtime. Darren Peterson is playing more. He had 16 points in the first half against West Virginia and was pretty quiet in the second half. Got pulled for defense a couple times, but he at least seems healthy. Can the Jayhawks pull off the big upset with the undefeated Cyclones coming to town? The very rare instance where you're going to have Bill Self as a home dog.
Yeah, which has been very profitable historically. I would go back to that. Was it the UConn spot last year or 2 years ago, the year UConn won the title and KU beat that team? And that was not a good KU team. So I think I can see a similar narrative playing out where we know this is an awesome Iowa State team. We know this KU team is flawed, but I think they might just, kind of play to their max or above their head potential, and maybe Iowa State shots don't fall on the road. But I think Iowa State, man, it's not a team you want to rush to the window to fade with. They've already proven they can go into Mackey and not just win, but dominate a team with real size. I still don't know if I love this KU team yet with Peterson, Ky. Not totally sold on it yet. It feels a little bit out of sorts.
I don't love them. And hey, John Rothstein so bravely pointed out that KU, not a top five team in the Big 12. That's true, John. In fact, KenPom would agree with you, the analytics. I also, another example of this, right? 2024, Houston was favored at Kansas, and Kelvin Sampson couldn't believe it. KU got up by 20 in that game and easily won. It's a tough place to play. This is very rare. I expect KU to take money because I think it is a better spot for Kansas here, back against the wall. Obviously, haven't been a home dog very much. Man, Iowa State's awesome. 10 of the last 11 games, they've won by double digits. I think Iowa State's defense gives KU's ball handlers a lot of problems. The DP is incredible, but man, he's not a true point guard, and KU does not have a plethora of ball handlers to handle what is a very, very good perimeter shell for Iowa State. So the spot Jim screams KU to me, but I bet the market bets it down too much to where I'm not interested.
Yeah, there was a point in the offseason where I think people thought Tamin Lipsey was the best on-ball defender in the country, and he's no longer the best on-ball defender on his team because Killian Toure is an absolute monster on the ball. He can harass whoever is going to bring it up for Kansas, whether it is Peterson or Council, get underneath them with that pressure and just force Kansas to continue to look a little out of sorts. I think they kind of had an identity figured out when they were playing the two bigs with Badunga and Tiller a lot together, and now they're playing a little smaller with Peterson. The offensive balance is shifted so heavily towards Peterson. He has a 41.5% usage in Big 12 play so far. That's in a lot of minutes. If he's on the court, he's shooting. And they just haven't really figured out how to adjust around him. In the Bill Self era at Kansas, he has been a home dog three times. 2-1 against the spread.
Yeah.
2021 against Baylor, they took care of that eventual national champion Baylor team. 2024 against Houston, Ky, the game you referenced. And then this year, they lost as a home dog against UConn, a 2.5 point home dog. So, yeah, it's not a big enough sample to conclude anything. It just tells you how good this team's been, that they played some awesome Big 12 schedules and only been a home dog in conference play twice before. But here comes Iowa State. I lean towards Kansas, but man, I don't have enough excitement to go against Iowa State and actually back that there.
Oh, yeah. KU closed like -1.5 against UConn the 2024 year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think no
Close.
Steph
everyone
Castle that game.
followed this exact trend and it flipped to favorite, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think no Castle was a big part of that line.
Yep.
Moving the
Correct.
way it did. Okay, next on the outline. Actually, let's go to UConn, fellas, because it's a very similar setup here. 5-point road favorite. UConn headed to Seton Hall, a house of horrors for one Dan Hurley, Ky. As
Yeah.
few of house of horrors as he's really had at UConn. His alma mater has always seemed to get the best of him at least once every season. And the Seton Hall team can muck a game up. One of the best defensive teams in the country. They are highly disruptive, rank in the elite nationally in both steal rate and block rate. They're going to make it difficult on that half court offense of Connecticut that is so well executed. But man, Braylon Mullins had a big game recently. Do they just have too many weapons for the Pirates, Ky?
Yeah, they've won 4 straight home games against UConn, and like you said, they split pretty much every single year. There's magic in the Prudential Center. Do they call it the Pru? If not, they should. The Prudential Center there.
They call it the
Um,
Prude.
the Prude, yes,
Yeah.
yes. All those Hall boys are so prude. I think interior defense and perimeter size can really bother UConn, and that's what Seton Hall has in spades. Team is rock solid, top 10 defense this season. And like I said, there's magic. So I will absolutely be looking to back Hall. I'm very curious what number we get. This phenomenon of Seton Hall Matt beating UConn is not a secret. So I'm very curious to see which way the market bets it. Ken Palm's got it 5. I bet it goes under 5 and market is with Hall.
For the New Jersey folks screaming into their headphones, it's called the Rock. They call it. They
Oh,
it
they call it the
Prudential Center
Rock.
Rock.
I
Yes,
probably
so
should have known
don't-
that. I'm
No,
sorry.
no. I just wanted
Jersey.
to make sure we didn't get some angry feedback there. Sorry, Matt.
I
Go
could
ahead. Your
prude
thoughts.
better.
Yeah. I
So
do
yeah,
too.
with this streak, the first of that streak was so Willard did 22 and then 23, 24, 25, Shaw. And yeah, I just think there is something real to like their identity and how they've been able to basically, not be pushed around by UConn and kind of take them out of their actions. And just I think as with UConn is always the case in the Big East, the coaching familiarity, it's just harder for UConn to have that playbook edge because those coaches in this league just know it, right? So I think that's always going to be working against UConn in Big East play. UConn's just not playing that well right now. I mean, Hurley's been really frustrated. I mean, defensively, they've been they've had issues. So I like Seton Hall here. We'll see where the number lands, but just instinctually, I have Hall circled on my slate.
Through 6 games, Matt, they have the most efficient defense in the Big East, though. The best defensive rating in the Big East. Providence torched it though, so it's not been every single game. They took care of DePaul, but did not cover there. Yeah, they haven't been as sharp. I'm sure Hurley has been a little upset with their performances. I kind of like Seton Hall here. I think it's just the muck it up, perfect kind of style. It's almost like the instance where Hurley might prefer a loss. Like, let me get on my guys. They haven't been playing as well as I want them to. I'll live with a loss here and a tough road environment. It is his alma mater, as mentioned. I think Seton Hall is a live dog in this situation, and I would take 5 points. I believe we do have lines up for this game.
Wow, for Tuesday, really?
No, never mind. Sorry. Yeah, these are Tuesday. I was looking at the
Yeah, Jim, the best Big
old
East and
SWAC
defense in Big East does
Southland lines
surprise
on
me.
Monday.
That does surprise
They-
me. I guess
I-
DePaul twice, and then Marquette was just ice cold, and it's only 6 games, but I'm going to bet
From
that
the-
trends the other direction. We'll see though.
From the Arizona game on, I said this on the stats pod with Will Warren. Check that out if you haven't listened to it. But they went 9 of 10 games holding their opponents below 1 point per possession. UConn did, which coming to the year, I think the question was, can the defense hold up? And clearly
top
it
five.
could. Yeah, they've had some beneficial 3-point percentage defense that I think has started to come back a little bit. Providence torched them a little bit from deep, 14 of 24. So that's normalizing a little bit, but they're still 5th in KenPom. And they've had a really, really tough interior defense with Reed, with Ryba, and they've got like athletes, Caravan, Stewart, that can actually block shots. So I think it's tough to score in them, but the offense is still coming along. I mentioned Mullins having that monster game recently, 24 against Providence. Demery had 23 and 15 assists in that game. The backcourt's really gelling to go with the veterans with Ball and Caravan, et cetera. So they are scary, but I do lean Seton Hall because of that the matchup and the trend there. I think Shaw's got a little bit of the number with the playbook, as Matt mentioned.
The whistle will matter. Whistle will mean a lot in this game.
Did you guys see the Rob Reinhardt fake account
Yes. So
saying
funny.
that Dan Hurley had said, I won't even say what they joked that he said to a ref, and he was Dan Hurley was being reviewed to be suspended for the entire season.
Yes.
And like
It's
multiple people fell for it and were like, I can't believe he said
My
this."
brother sent it to me. Yeah, it was the R word, F word. It was very, very funny.
Yes. I can't believe people got hooked by that. Even as much as I'm like, Dana Hurley, you're a lunatic. I didn't fall for that one. But okay, let's go to the ACC. Virginia headed to Louisville. Man, is this the top contender to Duke going to be decided here? Just really hard to handicap this one right now, Matt, because of the injuries on the Louisville side. Is Ryan Conwell going to play? Is Mikael Brown Jr. going to play? They just pulled the red shirt on London Johnson, the former G League guard. He didn't actually play last game, but I think that was indicative of their concern level over their guards' injuries. Obviously, Louisville's kind of an erratic up and down outcome, the high variance team because of how many threes they take, lead the entire country in 3-point attempt rate. But Virginia might have the edge inside. The foreign centers, the German centers battling in this one could be a matchup to watch.
Yeah, I think that's where the edge is. I'm sorry, Virginia's size at the rim was something we looked at it on paper, but just when you see it out there in person, it really stands out. And you have the defensive pressure that they're able to instill. I don't think that's going to work really against Louisville's backcourt, but they kind of have multiple ways, both inside and out defensively to set the tone. Jakari White, I thought would be a big kind of loss for Virginia. He's been out the last six games. It really hasn't been. I mean, they dominated NC State. They killed both the West Coast teams. I know they lost to Virginia Tech, but that wasn't an offensive issue in that game. So I like Virginia here. I really do. I think Louisville's lack of interior presence, depending on what Fru, I know Fru had a good game last game, but that was against not, whoever. So
Boston
that's where I think
College.
Virginia, yeah. Yeah, basically, I give Virginia a pass for their game after Christmas because Virginia Tech, every other game since then, getting back to the MT against Butler has been really impressive. So I think it's a good team.
Yeah, it's your point, that Virginia Tech game, the only game they haven't covered without White. So 4-1 against the spread without White. And Louisville's hurt. If Conwell's out again, him and Mikael Brown, BC had him down at half and down by 10. Boston College, like not just a bad power team, a bad team in general. And I think Virginia is such a well-oiled machine, defend the three very well. That's obviously key against the team that shoots the most threes in the country. I lean Virginia here, Jim, on the road.
Yeah, if both those guys are out, I'd take Virginia up to like -3. I
Yeah.
just think that they have enough of a style that can travel with the interior defense, the offensive rebounding. Like they're elite at both of those things, and that is part of the kind of system that I think travels onto the road. Also, fellas, would it surprise you to hear that at Bart Torvik right now, Virginia is the highest rated team in the ACC? Yes, that includes Duke. Virginia is 13th, Duke is 14th on full
That does
season
surprise me.
performance. Yeah,
Yes.
so this Virginia team has been pretty darn legit. That one Butler loss, it feels a little more like an aberration at this point, and triple overtime to arch rival Virginia Tech. Also, like you can see and understand why that game happened, but they have some size, some skill. Tice DeRitter is like a potential All ACC player. I'm a buyer on them. If now let's try to do the scenario, Matt. If one of Conwell or Brown Jr. plays, does that shift your how heavily does it shift your analysis?
I think it does, but I think the market would react to it. I think Louisville's going to, sorry, the more I think about this, Virginia's going to be a bet for me no matter what. So it's going to be a matter of timing with the injury news. I mean, look at Duke's last 6 games when people have been making a lot of hubbub about their defense. I think they're 1-5 against the spread. Their only cover was against Louisville. Sort of maybe, again, not to read too much into that, but I think a little bit illuminating as to what Louisville really is when you peel back the onion.
Yeah, you're obviously prone to 15, 23s going in if you're betting against Louisville, but that's just the risk you have to run. They
Yep.
could also make 5 of 31, and it's a runaway freight train win for Virginia. So I will say I don't know how to like register it as an official bet because we don't know the player status on the Louisville side, but I'll just say I'll take Virginia to -3 with them, assuming they're both out. We'll have that as a
Fair, Jim.
I hope it's not
asterisk.
bigger than like 5. I'd like
That'd be
anything
shocking. Be a
that'd
little
be like,
shocking.
sticker shock.
All right,
Shock.
last game I wanted to discuss here. Indiana, Matt, your Hoosiers going to Michigan State, who hasn't been like overly sharp lately. They got really pushed by Northwestern before being able to pull away late. I guess they were awesome against USC. USC in a very bad spot there. They lost on the road at Nebraska, but they have been pretty solid at home. They've got the physicality edge here against Indiana in the paint. A lot of size to take on the Hoosiers. But can IU make enough threes, Maddie? They seemed like they were going to against Nebraska, and then suddenly all the Husker shots started going in on Saturday. Does IU bounce back with a big win on the road at Michigan State?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Michigan State also has 2 days off. This is kind of like the subtle break in their schedule because they went Friday, Monday, Thursday. So I kind of gave them a pass in hindsight for the Northwestern. It's kind of sluggish start. Took care of business as they should have. They're deeper. Their presence at the rim. It's just, man, it's just a lot more. Just gives you more balance, more ways to win. Where just Louisville, Indiana, these jump shot reliant teams. I just think there is a matchup kryptonite, and I think Michigan State kind of presents that. So I like Sparty here, Ky. I don't know what the number is going to be, but I lay 9. Probably
Oof.
not.
It's
I think
high.
it's going
Yeah,
to be
it's, yeah.
8 at
Seven,
least.
seven at Ken Palm right now.
Yeah.
I think 8 is what it'll be. IU's been bad. They haven't played anyone like against good teams. One good half, great.
Well, yeah, they collapsed against Nebraska, led by 16 in that game.
Yeah, they
That
were up
was
16. I guess we should give credit for that part
tough.
of the story.
But they were hot, but this is the type of team we were worried about Indiana facing in the Big Ten. It was like when they face real size and front court play, they're going to get smoked, and Michigan State will smoke them in the paint and on the glass. They do tend to make teams beat them from the outside. Michigan State, they will make you beat them with jump shots. That's what Indiana wants to do. I mean, Wilkerson can literally hit 10 threes in a game. He's done it before. He will do it again. But Jim, I lean Sparty pretty heavy here. I do think they win by doubles.
Yeah, they've been to me like better against like better competition. Like if when they've
Step up.
a lackadaisical effort against Colgate or Northwestern, not a
Even
great
Cornell, give 100 to
showing.
Cornell. That was a little bit like, what?
Yeah. But then hey, USC comes in, Iowa comes in, and my God, look at what this team can do against somebody with not it's not really able to measure up physically in the paint. And I think that's going to be the issue here. Indiana does a great job of keeping you away from the rim defensively. That's Darren DeVries' trademark. But I still think keeping this aggressive Michigan State team off the glass is going to be hard. Cohen Carr will get a transition player too that gets the crowd going. I like Michigan State too. If it's 7, I think I'd lay it, but I'm with you, Matt. I don't know that it's going to be available in the market at that price.
I think this is a low scoring game. I like under as a total aside here. I feel like DeVries is going to cramp it like his kind of throwback to his old Drake style. No transition for Sparty. Make Sparty shoot. Kind of ugly game.
Yeah, I buy that. 141 is the Ken Pom projection. If it's right around there, I think maybe under 140
Low
would be a
140s
decent
under.
wager. Yeah. All right, let's go to the mid-major games of the week. I'm holstering a Monday Southland game for a later section. So I'll talk quick about the Patriot matchup, Ky, between Navy and American. Arguably the two challengers to Colgate in this league, but Colgate just lost at home over the weekend, opening up that race. They lost to Lehigh, so now 3-1. Navy actually atop the league at 4-0, perhaps the best team in the conference. They are the highest rated Ken Pom team. American 2-2. They had Colgate beat. I think this is a fun little matchup here. Navy, one of the most experienced teams in the country. They lead the entire country in continuity. Same starting 5 from last year. It's paid off for them in this conference. Do you think they get a win here? They are a 1-point road favorite per Ken Pom. Actually, per DraftKings, they are 1.5-point favorite.
Ooh, yeah. Give me Navy, Jim. I think Navy takes it. Yeah, like you said, number one continuity, and I kind of fell in love with this team as many did that watched the Patriot tournament last year with Austin Benini turning into an absolute stud muffin. He is maybe the best player in the Patriot. I don't think American's that good, Matthew. They just lost to Holy Cross by double digits. This is not the same team that made the tournament last year. I think Navy lives at the line. I think they prevail. So midshipmen, sign me up.
Yeah, I was shocked that American played as well as they did non-con. I didn't really get that. Dwayne Sipkin's good coach, but I don't feel like the roster. I don't know. I think it's kind of a come back down to earth, buy low, sell high. As you get into conference play for some of these low majors, you get good opportunities based on what I think is some abnormal performance, both good or bad, for November, December. I agree. I've always loved Navy. I bet on in Navy more than anyone on the plan for the last 3 years, mostly unprofitably. But yeah, but I'm back on Team Navy.
I'm going to go with Navy as well. Ky, I'm glad you brought up the conference tournament last year because Navy, this same starting 5, surely has some memories of losing by 20 to American in the Patriot League final. I think there's going to be a little revenge on the mind. As you mentioned, American 344th in foul rate defensively or defensive free throw rate. That is where Benini lives. Benini is a monster at getting the free throw line. Navy is 55th nationally at that. I think they take a ton of free throws. Pair that with a veteran type of team that I think can travel. I like Navy. Now, the concern is Donovan Draper has missed the last 2 for Navy.
Don.
A steady
Don
force.
Draper.
Yes, fans of Mad Men may recognize that name. Hasn't been very efficient this year, but he defends every position. He's a great distributor, like trigger man as a front court player. That would be a limiting factor, but I think I'll still ride with Benini, with Keo, and their limited depth there. So I'm going to go with Navy -1.5, an official bet, locking it in. On Tuesday, in the mid-major games of the week, we've got St. Mary's at San Francisco, Matthias. Some injuries on the San Francisco side. We're going to talk a lot of injuries in the spotlight section to end the show here. But big Bay Area battle here on the hill, War Memorial. The Gales, can they get they're favored by 6 on the road, but going to be about a touchdown favorite, maybe a little higher if Ryan Beasley's out. Any thoughts on this matchup, Matthew?
Yeah, and I think he will be. The Dons have really let me down this year. I know they've had a couple of injuries, but just like Tyrone Riley, like how much we loved him preseason, he's just been a little bit too passive. He's been very, very, very timid. I've watched him a few times. It's just not been the same guy we thought would take over, and they've had injuries that are backcourt. Mookie Cook's been like a key player. He's been out too. I think St. Mary's kind of goes into Memorial and does St. Mary's things, does the surgical silent the crowd with their execution, their defense, their size. I like the Gales here, Ky, and I'm shocked I'm saying that after I would have probably had this circle as a down spot for me a month or 2 or preseason, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not scared of the home floor, that's for sure. I think it's a steady crock pot. The Glass having 2 best players on the floor, Morauskas and Mikey Lewis. I have no clue what's wrong with the Dons. It might just be injuries, but they blew that game against LMU, and Beasley had like 30 points in that game. It's the first time they've been outside the top 100 since 2023, but the second time since 2018. So this is a bit of a down year for them. We expected them to almost compete for the title. No one's competing with Gonzaga, but at least compete for second. I think it is St. Mary's game, Jim.
Yep, I do too. Excuse me. Wow. Before the last meeting in February last year, St. Mary's had won 11 straight in this matchup, and then San Francisco pulled off a 1-point win. Again, I don't want to like over-index on revenge, but there is some continuity to the St. Mary's team. I think they want to get back after that loss at San Francisco, back to the same building that they were last February. Maybe that's not going to mean a ton for the spread because they've alternated covering these two in the last 6 meetings. But I just like what St. Mary's has right now. Morauskas is playing so freaking well. They've kind of figured out their center rotation with McKeever, and the shorthandedness of San Francisco, it concerns me. I just don't know what the line's going to be with the Beasley and Mookie Cook injuries lingering, so I'm not going to lock in anything official there. But I like St. Mary's. All right, let's go to live dogs of the week, fellas. We were hot last week. Rutgers beat Oregon in that spot where the Ducks were quacking on the East Coast still. Texas Southern did not take care of business, though. They got smoked by Grambling, unfortunately. Minnesota beat Iowa in the barn, and South Carolina went on the road and beat LSU in Baton Rouge. Without Dean Thomas, we had that one pretty well circled, and South Carolina dominated that game. So shout out to the Gamecocks. I've got a few this week. Curious if any jumped out to you guys. Monday, again, it is like all extra board, SWAC, MEAC, Patriot, Southland. But I really like Jackson State +6 at Alabama A&M. Jackson State got blown out repeatedly by power conference teams in the non-con, and I think that depressed their value going into the SWAC. They've started out 2-0. They're very frequently going to have the best player on the floor in the SWAC with Deshaun Ruffin. He's been a monster so far. I kind of like them going out and picking off Alabama A&M here. 6-point dogs per KenPom, Matthew, but looking at DraftKings right now, they're 6.5-point dogs. So there's going to be some value. You like the Tigers, Matthew?
Yeah, I think Jackson State is exactly like the epitome of what I was saying with Navy. Some of these low major teams that you just ignore what happened the first 2 months, right? Jackson State plummeted, I think, to low 330, 340s last season in KenPom. Everyone knew they were a preseason favorite, and look what they did, right? They took care of business. I think that's exact same story arc comes to fruition here. With the SWAC, a lot of times I realize getting into the individual matchups is not the way to go, but I think you play teams like on streaks, like portfolios, just because there's so much randomness game to game. The styles, frankly, are all very similar. So if you like a team or you don't like a team, trying to stick with it for a few is sort of what I'm trying to stick to this season. We'll see if I commit. I usually don't commit to anything, so TBD on that one.
Well, I mean, Matt, you couldn't have spoken true right there. I had Jackson State, not about the commitment, but I had Jackson State against Alcorn, and they lost by the hook, and they led that game by 17 points. And what did I do the next game against Alabama State? I gave up on them. Despite that my number said bet them, they beat Alabama State outright by doubles, never close. I'm back on the Jackson State bandwagon here. +6, absolutely. Preseason, I would have made this game Jackson State favored, right? Like -3. This is Jackson State for me. Yes.
Yep, I'm with you. I mean, the raw numbers for Jackson State are all so bad because they played at
Exactly.
Illinois, Louisville, Auburn, Arkansas, Houston, Northwestern, TCU. Like, there's a lot of top 15, top 20 teams in there, and then some more P5s. They played the eighth toughest non-conference schedule. Just didn't have a chance to come up for air, and now they do in the SWAC, and we're seeing like the true version of this team. I think that's a really good spot. Also, I wrote down a couple others for this week. Maybe Nichols at McNeese. They're +12. They're the 7-0 team in the Southland is the team that's going to be a double-digit road dog there. Nichols is 7-0, McNeese 6-1. McNeese hasn't been all that sharp. The ultimate erratic squad, Matthew, your Texas A&M Aggies headed to Tennessee. Maybe you get the variance game for Buckyball against the Vols, although the Vols are coming off a loss, so shaky there. And then
Yeah, I
Grand
like
Canyon.
Vols there quite a bit. I do,
Okay.
just as it's
Grand
yeah.
Grand Canyon +8 at New Mexico. Grand Canyon has already won at Boise in convincing fashion. I think they could maybe nip New Mexico despite how well coached they are. Any of those three for you, Matt, or any others on the board that stood out to you?
No, the Tennessee one for me, like I just watched them play Texas at home, kind of a smaller team without real physicality at the rim, which I think Texas A&M is certainly in that boat. I think they smack A&M, frankly.
Hmm.
Like obviously, if A&M gets hot, we see what they can do, but you're sort of betting that they're not going to get hot, and I don't think there's any other avenues for A&M to keep this game competitive. Jacoby Gillespie is the best guard on the floor by a mile. I don't know who guards him on A&M. I like the Vols at home, Kai. Physicality, home, spot, check, check, check.
I still think A&M is fraudulent too, so I leaned your way, Matthew. But Nichols, yeah, I don't get how Nichols is still this low in Kempom, to be honest. This team's really good, and I expect them to be in the preseason. Wrote this preview up for Basket Under Review. They're 5-2 against the spread in the Southland. McNeese 0-5 against the spread their last 5 games. So they are teams can hang with them. Southland is no longer a one-team league dominating everybody else. McNeese obviously has more talent and athletes, but within doubles, I think the Colonels can definitely hang around. So Nichols, I'll be on as well.
Yeah, just keep an eye out for Mr. Dunkley. Jaleel Dunkley missed last game
Mm.
for Nichols, one of their top three
Hate
guys.
injuries. Yes.
Big time rebounding force for them. You just got to take care of the ball against McNeese. That is like the first order of business against them because they force so many turnovers. But Nichols can kind of do that. And I just think 12 is a crazy number. That would be, it's 13 and a half at DraftKings. So, Kai, if you want to
Wow.
lock in 13 and a half, I'm going to do it. So,
Yeah, I think I will too.
uh, Jackson State and um, and Nichols on Monday. Live dog section wasn't overly exciting for me. Kai, were there any others on Monday or Tuesday that you wanted to highlight, or should we move on?
No, no, not really. I'm good, Jim.
Okay. All right, let's go to our favorites presented by DraftKings. Last week we had Yale demolishing Brown. Florida took care of business against Georgia. Yes, it helped that Santos Cerril threw an elbow and got kicked out of that game, but hey, the money counts the
Thanks.
same. Michigan almost lost at Penn State. That was a little befuddling. The Wolverines have hit a little mini swoon right now. Dusty May is talking about how they haven't been playing very well lately. But
Hey, how
hey,
about
we
Penn
went
State?
2-1
That's
there.
4 in a row, baby.
Yeah, they are
Went
competitive even without
4-0
Mingo.
ATS last four. Don't look now. Check the ledger.
Don't look out. Watch out.
All right, so some of the favorites I highlighted here, couldn't pick one out on Monday that I loved enough to really bring to the table to your attention. Here's the four, Kai, that I did come up with. George Mason -11 versus Loyola. The Ramblers are just ravaged by injuries. Now, Mason, granted, just came off the VCU home win and could be sort of a letdown spot, but Skin's almost too good of a coach for that. Nebraska -13 against Oregon, a really weird travel spot for Oregon coming back into the Midwest after going home for just a little bit, and Shellstad's absence could be big there. Bradley -5 at Evansville potentially. If Turnbull remains out for Evansville, he is one of the most important players in the entire country for his team. And then Akron -23 against Ball State. Matt kind of joked about it in the Discord recently that perhaps Mr. Lewis at Ball State is going to be getting his pink slip very soon. I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
And Akron is just a turbo juggernaut of an offense. Any of these stand out to you, Mr. McEwen?
Yeah, Jim. I I definitely like George Mason. I mean, Loyola walking wounded. Like they sucked kind of when they were healthy. They're turning a corner a bit, it seems. But I guess Xavier Amos is the most important player in the country because he was out along with a couple other guys, and they lost by 30 to George Washington. And Mason is a good team. They're a good team. So I do lean their way for sure. Evansville somehow beat Indiana State without Turnbull, so I don't think Lightning will strike twice. But so I do lean Bradley there, and I agree with Akron, Matt. I think they're going to blow Ball State out. Akron loves blowing teams out that are hopeless, and they have a top 20 offense. Certainly have the firepower to do it.
Yeah, Ball State's just like I have Air Force on this list. I have two teams: Ball State, Air Force, teams in like the mid
Yeah,
320s, 330s. Kempom that I think will wind up in like the 340s, maybe 350s might be a reach, but I don't see any upward hope for either squad. Ball State is injury riddled; they have been all year. Um, and Mike Lewis, I think, is just totally defeated at this point, both where he's at in his hot seat tenure, how little hope this season frankly has. They've just totally folded. They're not smart. They're not talented. They have like lapses in effort, as Lewis calls out pretty subtly sometimes in his post game pressers. Just not a lot going for this team, and Akron's Akron. So I think you just kind of trust it here. Lay it.
Laying it, Matthew. Taking it. What's your strike on Akron
Strike's
there?
got to be, I mean, 24.
Okay. Okay. I
I
would
mean,
expect
like
it
if
to
you're
be
laying
a little
23,
bit
you'll lay
inflated.
25, wouldn't you? If you trust the,
yeah, yeah. I
I don't
guess.
know. That's obviously not smart handicapping. But with some of these big numbers, you kind of have to be a little less strict to your strike. And if your instinct says it, you got to just hit it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go George Mason up to 12. I just think Loyola is really in the hurt locker. They had the mini resurgence and then injuries kind of cropped back up, and I think that took the wind massively out of their sails. They got down 22-0 against George Washington. So it's kind
Yeah,
of from the jump that this team can be outclassed on the road by a good team. The Nebraska one, I'm a little spooked by the spot for them, just the big Indiana road win, but they're just so consistent. Oregon is pretty darn bad. I have no idea what that line will be if Shellstad's out, though. It could be like 16, and I'm not going to lay that with the Huskers.
Mm.
All right. Any other favorites for you boys that you want to mention? We've got a couple days here to work with. Any that I missed, Kai?
I got nothing, Jim. I mean, Nebraska's kind of like a why not? They've won 20 straight. Like I know they haven't covered 20 straight, but my gosh, what a team! I definitely don't like Oregon this season. I'm perusing the board a bit, but I don't think any other ones really jump out at me right now.
Okay.
No,
Nebraska now
everything
leads the
Tuesday is
entire
competitive.
country in wins above bubble. They're
Nebraska,
ahead of
number one.
Michigan, UConn,
Wow,
Arizona. Yeah, they just keep on winning.
that's
Sorry, go ahead,
incredible.
Matthew.
No, so there's like only competitive games on Tuesday. There's really not like any, um, even like the best team in conference versus the lower end team, like the Valpo against Belmont. Like I don't think Belmont's gonna like completely annihilate Valpo. Valpo's good. They got size, but so yeah,
Ooh, I got one more I'm going to add. What do you think here, Matt? Creighton minus 10 against Georgetown. I think
yeah. I
there's a
just
little bit of
Could be it.
lifelessness coming
quit
out of
zombie team coming.
Georgetown.
Yeah,
Many amount of that. And Creighton's off a home loss where they got embarrassed. They got pantsed by Rick Pitino and St. John's. Back home, CHI Health Center, big old crowd in that place. I think you get a bounce back performance from Creighton, a bunch of knockdown shots. So it's minus 10 at Ken Palm. I'm going to lock that in. I'll just take 10. I'm not going to go nuts with the price and have a big strike on it. But I go Creighton minus 10, really adding up the card for this week, boys. All right, let's move on. That was our favorite favorites presented by DraftKings. Let's talk a couple of spots. I think there are two real home run spots, if that's what you're looking for as your betting strategy. The first, Kai, home run of home run spots for the Minnesota Golden Gophers, who've been
Yeah.
outstanding at home in league play. They get Wisconsin coming to town. Wisconsin just won at Michigan. The best
Mm.
win in the country by WAB measurement. Huge knock off the undefeated team, shoot the lights out. Now you got to go to the barn, a tough place to play. Minnesota's feisty. They're not going to let them run up and down the way Michigan did. Man, it's hard not to like Minnesota here, right?
I agree. I will be on the Gophers almost assuredly. I was looking up their home ATS. It's not great, I suppose, but man, I like him in this spot, and I think Medved's a great coach. Obviously, beat Iowa at home, crushing loss against USC in overtime. But yeah, I think this is a perfect opportunity to catch Wisconsin, which it's tough. Did Wisconsin turn a corner, Matthew, or flash in the pan? Does it matter? Is Minnesota solid either way? I definitely lean their way. I hope I get +3, but I think the market's going to see this spot as well.
I think a little
There will
both. I
be
think
a tax on
Wisconsin,
this one. Yeah.
Tax.
yeah,
There will
there'll be
be
a
a tax.
tax.
Yeah.
I do think Wisconsin, the way they started to spread, play a little pick and pop with I'm blanking on the forward.
Biliauskas.
Yeah, it was on fire. I think there's something there. However, I think that was sort of a matchup edge against Michigan, who sits Mara and does that kind of extreme drop stuff. And Michigan was starting to kind of flatline. I mean, I think they were kind of hitting a plateau. They were due for maybe a loss. So all that said, I do lean Minnesota here at the barn. I think they're actually a better matchup than Michigan is for Wisconsin. And Wisconsin away from home has really just looked lifeless defensively. So we'll see. And I like that Medved's kind of found a secret potion with like his basically 6-guy rotation. I think that's just kind of it's got a good mojo right now. He's talked about that too.
Yeah, they're not really built to punish Minnesota inside. Wisconsin isn't, and that's the way Indiana was. Can't really punish them inside. That's the way Iowa was. Not a team that punishes you inside. That's the kind of team that Minnesota can beat at home. And Kyle, you mentioned they're at home splits. Like I wouldn't have expected Minnesota to be a great big home favorite
Yeah. Right.
against bad competition. But in feisty spots, Big Ten games, that's where I think they can be really
Step up.
competitive, and that's the spot here. So if it's 3, I'm going to take it. I'm not going to take it at like pick.
No.
There's a chance it gets bet to that, but I'll just say conditionally, if it's at 3, I'll be on it. The other big spot would be Oklahoma +6 home dog. Maddie, I know the Sooners burned you over the weekend against A&M. I like
The
that
hell was
spot for you
that?
too. But Florida is coming to town off a demolishing of Tennessee, and they have the little look ahead to Vanderbilt on the road next Saturday. So tricky little sandwich spot here on the road against a team that's off 2 losses in the SEC. Can Boomer Sooner back home in their friendly confines pick off the Gators, who did get some solid guard play this weekend?
Yeah, I kind of like the back home after 2 road losses. Funny that we talked about Vandy as a look ahead spot, just kind of where we're at with that program right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna probably fool me once, fool me twice. I'm going back to Boomer Sooner. I just think I think at home it's a good spot for them, but better guard play. So
Yeah.
that's
Great
simple.
spot. No, great spot. They do have good guard play, better than Florida's. Just working with the rebounding. OU's not the best rebounding team in the world. Florida obviously is just incredible. I would take 6 probably. I would take 6. Will it be
6 is
6?
fair.
Not sure. Not sure.
Yeah, I wonder if it'll end up being 5. The lock is that Mo Wagi gets in foul trouble against that front line, and then it gets really worrisome. If he's not on the floor, that team's really thin up front, and they could get blitzed on the glass. I'm not a Kirill Elatantsev guy.
I know a lot more minutes lately. I'm like,
I think
okay.
he was the midseason addition, right? He was one of the
Oh,
guys
that's
brought
right.
over. They just needed the extra body inside. They're a big Russian guy, and I'm not going to call him a stiff, but he's just a guy. He's
Yeah.
not going to make a
Yeah,
difference
I
against that
agree.
Florida front line, especially the way Chinyelu played this weekend. My God, he was a freaking man possessed against that Vols front line. So definitely lean to Oklahoma. I'm not going to actually lock that one in as an official bet, though. All right, we got a couple more quick segments here. Let's go to trash. Man, last week was the epitome of trash. Georgetown lost at DePaul and went 1 for 23 in the second half from the field.
Impossible.
An entire half of basketball, they made one shot against DePaul.
My God.
So yes,
They weren't much
properly
better than
called
Seton
out
Hall,
trash.
by the way. Not Seton Hall, a
No,
better defensive team, but pretty atrocious in the follow up response to that too.
that's why I'm laying it with Creighton on Tuesday.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
The game Kai, you actually wrote this in the outline, and I'm glad you did because it was the
That's
perfect
just
trash game. Mississippi Valley State on the road at Texas Southern, number 365 at number 345. The only 2 teams in the SWAC that are 0-3 in league play so far. How far Texas Southern has fallen here, but they are probably going to be a double-digit favorite. That's how bad Mississippi Valley State is. Kai, anything for you on this game? Do you think the Delta Devils can go on the road and hang with Johnny Jones and his program?
I guess I do. I can't believe how bad Texas Southern is. It's actually shocking. I've been on the losing end with them a few times. I thought they had more talent than this. Clearly not. Mississippi Valley State is impossible to get a pulse on. They're 8-8 against the spread, so that kind of speaks to it. They almost beat Prairie View A&M last game on the
Yeah,
road.
nice
They
little
were
effort.
20-point dogs. They took Utah Tech to overtime in the Hawaii tournament. That's like, I don't really know what to expect from this team. They have the worst offense in the country. It's a game, again, it's trash section. You don't want to watch this game. But gosh, double-digit dog. Texas Southern should be favored by double digits to anybody right now, Matthew.
I think this Mississippi Valley State team is better than the last 2 years, if that means anything to you at all. And right now, KenPom, they're actually 365th. They finished 364th last year
Well,
and
there were only 364
362nd.
teams and 362. They
They're
were dead
still
last
last.
both last two. Yeah.
Exactly. Alas, my point stands. I think this is a better team than last year's. What does that mean as
It is
the
better.
ATS record? I kind of think they compete in this game because Texas Southern is not very good and they're hurt.
It's actually
Yeah,
way better than last year. If you're
And they're
looking at
basically
rating.
staying right there. There's
Yeah.
no travel from Prairie View to Houston or to Texas Southern either. So when you do that road swing, it's usually a pretty
Mississippi
good
Valley
spot
State
for the
is
team.
within 1 point of net rating of Coppin State to not being in the cellar for the third straight year. They've
Yeah.
been a little bit competitive this year. Michael James is like a real player. I don't know how he ended up on Mississippi Valley State, but he is a useful piece that will probably transfer. And Texas Southern has no freaking clue what their best lineups are. They're just throwing stuff at the wall. They've got 14 guys that are like getting reasonable minutes or started getting reasonable minutes at the beginning of the year. Injuries have hit. They're just guessing. They've already used 11 starting lineups.
14
Texas
games.
Southern has.
Yeah.
That is insane. So I think Mississippi Valley State is a little bit competitive there. That's like the most emphatic take we've ever had on a trash game.
I know.
That's
It's great.
exciting.
The real lines are out 12 and a half. There's 13 and a half out there as well, but DraftKings got 12 and a half right now.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Man, I'm tempted. It's minus 102. I would love to just have 13 minus 110.
Yeah,
DraftKings.
bet
What
it
are we
up.
doing?
Bet it up. Yeah.
Okay. Last section, just a quick little spotlight. We talked about the Ivy League last week, but we're going to just talk some injuries here that people should note and be monitoring and aware of. Darren Peterson, obviously the big headliner against Iowa State. Conwell and Michael Brown Jr. against Virginia for Louisville. We talked about them. Dayton's got some front court issues with Amaya Letang and Malcolm Thomas. We talked about Letang's importance last week on this very program. San Francisco dealing with Ryan Beasley and Mookie Cook injuries against St. Mary's. Jackson Shelstead for Nebraska. And then kind of a sneaky under the radar one, Matthew. San Jose State's Yafet Mundi, a massive rebounder. He is huge for them. And Colby Garland actually missed last game too for the Spartans.
Yeah.
Got
The
blown
San
out
Jose,
at Grand Canyon. Those are their two best players, like by far. So you got to watch that.
yeah, the injury report for San Jose was like you had to scroll, you had to have the whole page on your screen to see it on the Mountain West side. So feel bad for Timmy. He's always dealing with injuries. I bet they somehow cover first half no matter what, and then they'll probably lose the second half by 20. That's kind of the
They
script.
play Air Force, so you're gonna have to
That's
really
true.
twist my arm to bet
I
Air
know.
Force. That team it's bleak right now. They lost by 42 to New Mexico, 37 to Utah State. Both those
Yeah,
games
just
were at home.
not competitive.
Just never competitive. At UNLV, they lost by 28. Yeah, Kai, you can't force me to bet the Air Troops right now.
No, absolutely not. That's the team that's like auto fade right now territory. I think Matt's done it pretty well, but yeah, the auto fade.
Yep. All right, so those are injuries to keep an eye on. Fellas, let's recap our picks from the pod here. I had another good week, 5-1. Going to keep bringing up
Good
records
day,
when
good day.
those are happening. So I took Navy minus 1.5. That is available at DraftKings on Monday night right now. Virginia up to -3. This is a heavy assumption that there's no Conwell or Mikel Brown Jr. I would take like pick, I think, if one of them was in. I just think Virginia's physicality and defense can actually travel there, the size they have in the paint. Jackson State +6 and a little sprinkle on the money line Monday night. Nichols +13.5. Also Monday night, a battle against McNeese. George Mason up to -12 on Tuesday against Loyola. Creighton -10 against Georgetown. And Minnesota +3 and +3 only on Tuesday. I'm not going to go below that in that spot against Wisconsin. Kai, what do you got for the people?
Very similar, Jim. Navy -1.5. Jackson State +6. Nichols +13.5. George Mason as well, -12. You talked me into it. Fade Loyola. And then Minnesota only +3. Agreed. The +3.
Wow, Kai, we're gonna score. George Mason is 11, I believe. I'm just saying up
11.
to 12. So
Okay.
that's
Up
my
to 12.
strike price.
Up
So
to 12. Yes.
I wonder with the Loyola injuries that could end up being like 14.
It
That's
could
my
be.
concern.
Yes, yes, yes.
Matthew, to you.
I got 3. Virginia, Tennessee, and Akron. Like I said, Akron probably gonna be about mid-20s. Surely that'll get bet up. like early. Tennessee, Virginia, we'll see. I don't have a great read as to what those spreads would be. I think Virginia might be a pretty pricey, um, close to 10. Nah, maybe not. We'll see. But it certainly
Virginia
could touch
10?
that.
No way.
You don't think so?
It's a pick at Ken Palm. One.
Sorry,
Really,
not 10.
really
I'm thinking of the other game. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong. I'm looking at Virginia Tech.
Or sorry, it's 3, by the way. Louisville 3 at Ken Palm. So
I think that'll be 5, and I would lay up to 5, hopefully 4.
what do you think? Virginia's going to, I think 8 points will swing towards, it's Louisville -3 right now at Ken Palm. So Virginia.
Matt seems confused by this.
No, I'm just trying to think. I don't know.
Because
Tennessee, I'm trusting blindly. I just think Tennessee, I just feel like that's their spot. Virginia, I'll probably be more price sensitive. I still think it's going to be a little higher, but we'll see.
I bet Virginia would be a favorite if Conwell's out. Yeah, for sure.
I think so as well.
Conwell,
And Brown, we'll see what his status is. He keeps emphasizing he's close. He's close. He's close. But
his handlers don't want him to play.
I don't know. I agree.
I'm jealous that Matt's going to be smart and just beat the Ball State dead horse. I probably should do that with Akron, but I'll leave it to you. I like the Tennessee one too. It feels like off the loss, the physicality overwhelms of Texas A&M. So hopefully we have given the people a bunch of winners on Monday and Tuesday. Start your week off with a little bit of extra change in your pockets. That is it for us here at BBOC on Monday. Thank you to DraftKings, our sponsor. Shout out to Stuckey and the crew at Action Network and our production team behind the scenes. We'll be back again next week with another episode on Monday morning, and make sure to tune into this feed for the midweek and weekend previews coming from Big Bets on Campus as well. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll catch you again next time.